Good morning and happy Saturday to you. Welcome on in to today's DIY day for the Fall Vintage and Thrifted Marathon. It's happening all weekend long, so I hope that you get a chance to enjoy it today and tomorrow. If you haven't already enjoyed yesterday's market day, we had a spectacular time with some live sales over there with all things that are primitive, vintage, thrifted, handmade, country style decor. You guys, you all showed up yesterday and I hope you enjoyed it. Today is going to be nothing short of amazing as well as tomorrow. We go all the way up until 10:30 tonight and tomorrow night, Central Time, of course, with giving you ideas on how to use some vintage items, some thrifted items, or maybe even something that is based on a vintage concept or primitive style. So y'all come on in and tell us you're here this morning. I can't wait to see who shows up. Come on in, Miss Catherine and Cheryl. It's early. It's early for a Saturday morning, but we've already had one amazing presenter. Miss Jen from Mother Time kicked us off this morning. So if you've missed her, you might want to go back and catch her later on. But we have live DIYers and artists and creatives lined up every 45 minutes today and tomorrow, starting at 11:15 tomorrow a.m. Central Time. I can't wait. Can't wait. It's like Christmas morning all weekend long for me and hopefully you as well. All right, you guys, come on in here. If you are new to me, welcome. My name is Tracy Campbell and my page is called My Sweet Home Living. You can find me here on Facebook or over on YouTube as well. My channel is still called the same thing over there. So I would love to see you around everywhere. Good morning, Miss Heidi and Cindy, Elizabeth and Donna. Welcome on in, you guys. If you are familiar to me, or maybe if you're new to me, you may know that I love things that are vintage, primitive, and like that old vintage farmhouse feel, right? And so anything that I make or create is based on those concepts and ideas. And I like to pull out vintage finds and use those in my decor and giving you ideas on how to decorate your home in that style as well. So look at what I have spread out in front of me. This is just a short little taste of what the things that I do on my page. So if you're new to me, I would love for you to stick around. A couple of weeks ago, we made some faux cornbread muffins using a vintage muffin tin. And then, of course, last week, was it the week before? I don't remember. I've lost track of time. We used some blackened beeswax and created some really fun fall potpourri, if you will, home decor and potpourri at the same time. It smells absolutely amazing. If you just had like smell-o-vision on your phone, I would say take a big whiff. But this is a vintage style dough bowl, vintage grain scoop, and then we used just some corn cobs and we wax dipped them in some blackened beeswax, rubbed them down with cinnamon and spices, and tied them up with some dried sweet Annie. It smells absolutely amazing. And usually I take this little dough bowl and I place it right here in that little cubby right there that you see, that little blank spot right there. That's where I typically have this setting next to my little jelly cabinet back here that I love to decorate for the seasons. And this, I take this and I style it on a vintage style little breadboard. It's not vintage, true vintage. It's just a reproduction, but that together, and I set this, let me show you. Watch your eyeballs up to the top. I set that up there on top of that little green kitchen scale up there at the top, and they look so cute. So cute. But you could take these ideas, use them for centerpieces around your home, tuck them in some shelves or on a buffet, and you've got some instant decor with not a lot of money, you guys. Not a lot of money at all. Love giving you budget-friendly ideas to decorate. And sometimes even taking things that you would normally throw away and using them for your decor. Love giving you ideas with that kind of concept as well. And today is no exception. We aren't using a vintage or thrifted find today. However, we are taking a vintage concept, a vintage idea of decorating, and I'm going to show you how you can use that same idea in your home this fall. And and throughout the seasons. I wanted to make sure that we are showing up in all the places. This event is showing up in the All Things Vintage and Thrifted group, which hopefully will pop up at the bottom of your screen when you're watching live on Facebook. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll see. But that's where you can find us, in those two groups. So if you're a member of those two groups on Facebook, then you'll be able to watch the event all weekend long. Okay. Corn cobs, you guys. Corn cobs. We see dried corn cobs in the fall everywhere, right? Well, why not take them and use them for your decoration other than what you would typically see them? You know, you might see like the tricolored corn, which I'm used to calling that Indian corn. And I don't know if that is something that could be offensive to anyone, but that's what I've just always called it. I don't know if that's right or wrong or how it even got its name. But it's probably called tricolored corn as well. If you don't have access to dried corn, a lot of times in the fall, you can see farmers markets that will have dried corn that you can use. But if you don't, let me show you a real quick little pick-me-up that you might want to add to your list is just a bag of squirrel. This is just ear corn. This is meant for squirrel feeders, and you can grab it at probably your local grocery store. Okay, whatever grocery store you shop at that sells pet food, you probably can find a bag of this. This is a ginormous bag, which is what I also used for those, what am I thinking? My brain went blank. Oh, those blackened beeswax corn cobs. Well, this bag can give you lots of projects just with one bag. And this is for like $8 or $9. And it comes with a lot of corn cobs. Let's see how many pounds. This is a 6.5 pound bag. You may be able to even find a smaller bag. But I just kind of wanted to show you what I have. Now, what I have taken is these corn cobs, and I have taken them, and for some of them, not all of them, I have just picked the corn off. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I remember when I was little, that was like the most satisfying thing ever, was to sit and just pick and peel these little kernels off of your corn. It's kind of like one of those fetishes, like if you were a kid and you liked peeling dried glue off of your fingers or something like that. It was kind of that same like level of satisfaction just to sit there and like pick a whole roll off and just watch it fall and just feel it fall. Well, that's kind of what we're doing with this. We're taking these and we're just peeling that corn off. Now, this is not going to go to waste. We're going to use this for some home decor as well. And without spending much money at all, you can have lots of fun fall projects that are primitive style to use around your home. Okay. So you get the idea, right? You get the idea. You may be able to even go out in your backyard, depending on where you live, and find some dried corn just right, and pick it and pull it right in and use it right away, wherever. But if not, if you don't have that kind of availability, I wanted to show you the options there, the real quick option. But you can see once you start peeling it down, you're going to get that beautiful corn cob. Now, I don't know about you, but I think this color, it screams fall. And how often would something like this get tossed away to the trash, to the garbage? It's beautiful. Look at it. I mean, this could be even used as like a floral pick even. I mean, I don't know. I just find beauty in the natural things as well. So I want to encourage you to do the same thing. So we're going to use several of these, which I have already, you'll be thankful for. I have already picked the kernels off of several of these. And depending on the variety of your corn, you could even use some tricolored corn and get different colored cobs as well. I think the tricolored cobs show up with different colors. And I'm not seeing your comments, hot dog. Let me see if I can see comments over here. There we go. A big snowman nose, Rachel. You're right. You're right. It would be a super cute little corn cob nose or even make a little corn cob pipe like Frosty. You're right. A pumpkin stem. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Y'all are coming up with some amazing ideas. I'm glad I turned my iPad and had it on at my fingertips over here today because I'm not seeing comments on my phone today. All right. The other thing that we're going to be using, which is natural and primitive style, are these little mini gourds. I think these may be called egg gourds. I don't know, but they are so cute and they are super durable. A lot of times I like to take these and use them just as eggs. I mean, when you put the point down and you display them in like some yellowware, like vintage antique yellowware, stoneware, they look like little eggs. Yeah. And lots of our sellers from yesterday's market day had some of these little mini gourds or something very similar available. So if you were lucky enough to grab some of these, you could use this idea that I'm going to show you today. And if not, you can go back and catch some of those replays from our live sellers yesterday and probably purchase some more of these, because they usually have tons of these. I do believe that the Fruit of Her Hands, if you check out her page, The Fruit of Her Hands, she is another Kentucky lady, just like I am. And I believe she had a lot of these, if I'm not mistaken. And there could be several other sellers that did as well. But you can buy these by the multiples and use them in your home decor in lots of different ways. Okay, for really inexpensive. Good morning, Miss Kim. Yes, that's right. You could always make it as a candle. Now, we are going to do something so simple with this, and you're going to have 2 projects in one today. By the time we're finished, you're going to have 2 project ideas that I hope that you will take and use in your home today. We already have 381 in the house today. Thank you all so much for showing up. I hope that you guys enjoy this amazing weekend event. It's something that I look forward to with every new season. And we just have some super talented creatives that are here ready to share ideas with you using vintage and primitive things and thrifted items as well. Okay. So I have this, this is just brown covered wire. I believe I grabbed this maybe at Hobby Lobby. It was actually in the fall crafts at Hobby Lobby. Yes, it's just covered wire, but it's covered in like a brown paper. Okay. And we are going to use this today. And I'm just going to, I don't know how long, we're going to make this into a garland, you guys, a garland, a primitive style garland. Now you're thinking, how in the world does this fit into like the primitive vintage idea of things? Well, back in colonial days, primitive times, to decorate their home, they had to use things that they already had at their fingertips. And so things like that were on the farm, the things that they could grow for themselves, in our example with the blackened beeswax, they used the beeswax and the spices and the corn cobs because it gave a beautiful smell in their home, right? Well, this is no exception. They take things and they see the beauty in the natural things and use those things in their primitive style decor. And that's what we're doing today. All right. Now I'm using this wire because, as you will see here in a moment, I have taken just a real quick little battery operated drill and used a small drill bit to drill a hole, okay, on 2 sides where I'm going to thread the wire through. Now, if you could use twine, you could use string, you could even probably use fishing line. But I'm thinking once I start feeding it through that hole, it might be a little bit of a challenge to get it through and to the other side because I'm not able to kind of see where it's poking through, right? You may want to experiment with that. I have already pre-drilled all of these gourds except for one. I wanted to show you just real quick how easy it is. The hardest part, you guys, is keeping your drill in the same spot, which is not hard. Just put it on a flat surface and just go slow. And you may have to use your fingers to kind of hold it in place until, see, there we go. That's how easy that was. And then on the opposite side, I'll drill another one. Woohoo. See, it just wants to move a little bit, but it goes in and through there real easy. I'm going to do the same thing with my corn cobs. Hey, Miss Judy. Thank you so much for sharing this. Yes, Miss Debbie, the natural vibe of fall. You know, we think that sometimes we have to go out and buy, decor, but I love giving you ideas that you can use, the things that you may already have access to. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing with corn cob. I'm going to take it, I'm just going to drill a hole all the way through. Now, I have not done that with these corn cobs yet. Yeah, that was super easy. All the way through, okay? Yeah, and you can see, I don't know, well, no, there you go. You can see that little hole right there. All the way through. So I kind of want to make sure that I get all of these kind of at the same length down from the top, from the end of the cob, if you will. So that they all kind of look cute on my wire. They all kind of hang the same length, if that makes sense to you. Now, luckily, all these corn cobs are just about the same size, but you don't have to keep them that way. Okay. This is something you can whip together so quick. All right. And this will be the last one that we do. We have 409 in the house. Oh my gracious, you guys, y'all are early risers this morning. And you're in for a treat all day long and all weekend long with this amazing vintage and thrifted event. If you want to watch the whole weekend long, there is a link. Good morning, Miss Sheila from Sweetie's Creations. The link pops up down below to the All Things Vintage and Thrifted. It's also in my video description. Okay. So here we go. I'm going to kind of lay these out. And you guys can kind of see where my head is going with these. I want the smaller ones on the ends, the bigger ones in the center. And that goes the same for the corn cobs as well as those little mini egg gourds. Okay. The bigger ones in the center and then smaller as you go out. If you have various sizes. Okay. That's kind of what it's going to look like when we put it together on our wire. Okay. So let's string this together. Now, all that corn that I plucked off of my cobs, I'm chuckling because this is going to give me, this is going to be stubborn because I am on a live. There we go. Thank you. Thank you, Jesus. He was helping me out on that one. I was like, oh gosh, we're going to be here all day trying to thread this wire on here. I thought I'm doing it the easiest way I know how is by using this wire, right? And I mean, I was like, why is it not going through? These little gourds sometimes can have a little bit of filling in them. So, there we go. Just be patient and thread them on. See where we're going with this, right? Let's see. It's going to look adorable because my plan is to hang it on this cabinet that is behind me. I'm going to drape it across the top from this corner to this corner. It's going to be like a little garland. It's going to hang right in front of that little cabinet, and I think it's going to look adorable. And if you don't know where you would hang this, I'm going to give you some tips, some ideas. How many of you have a blanket ladder? This would look cute draped across the top portion of your blanket ladder. This would also look cute. How many of you have a little peg shelf, a shelf that has pegs? It would look darling. You could take the ends of this and tie it on and string it from one end of the pegs to the other. This would look cute. Maybe even draped in front of, on front of some cabinet doors. Maybe some cabinet doors that you don't open a whole lot. Okay. How cute. Now, can you envision? Move my head out of the way. But can you envision what that's going to look like? Draping across the back of that little cabinet right there. Is that not going to look cute? Yes, it's going to look adorable. Now, you can totally dress this up with some little fabric ties or whatever. How simple is that? Simple, okay? Now, before we're not completely finished with that, what I would like to maybe do is add some little fabric ties at the end, maybe like some muslin strips or maybe even some cheesecloth, keeping in the style of primitive and vintage. I just have some fabric, some ripped fabric. Now this would be something that would be keeping in the style of what we're looking for here. So you could take these and make, not a rag bow, but just give it a little bit of extra interest to it if you want to. You can keep it as simple as you want. So I'm thinking maybe just, and primitive decor is simple. You don't want to overdo it. So, and a lot of times we can overdo it without thinking about it until it's too late. If you get something finished and think, I'm just not sure if this really fits, you know, the idea or the theme. Well, it could be that you've maybe overdone it a little bit. Okay. Keep it simple. Okay. Now we want these to kind of be loose together, because if we tighten them up too much, it wants to make those little egg gourds pucker out. But I think that's adorable. You could even keep the same idea and use the tricolored corn without picking the kernels off. You know, that would be really cute as well. Okay. How are we on time? We're doing good. Oh my gosh, we got tons of time, you guys. Well, we may do a little bit more. I'm going to show you a couple other ideas with that corn cob in just a minute then, since we've got some ideas. Now, what are we going to do with this corn that we've plucked off of all the cobs? What are we going to do with it? Hey, Miss Mary, how are you? Miss Chastity from Antique Adoption. She's watching in the comments. You will let her know that you loved watching her yesterday. If you caught her live sale in the market day, she is amazing. Always love seeing what she has to offer. And she has been with us since the very beginning of our market days. And we're so excited and honored that she's joins us every time. All right. Hey, Miss Deanie and Stephanie, how are you? Now, I like saving jars. Spaghetti sauce jars, pepper jars, I mean, you name it. Alfredo sauce, like anything. Okay. Now this, I believe, was an Alfredo sauce jar, but it is a mason jar. And I like it because it has like the measurements and all that on it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take that corn that I plucked off all of those cobs and I'm just going to fill this up. I want to have, I mean, look at the color. I mean, you can't beat that for a fall color. And when we mix it in with all of our other corn-themed fall decor, it's going to look pretty amazing. And I'm going to show you how all this can coordinate together, and you can mix and match and use all kinds of things. All right, let's fill it up to the brim. And that, I mean, that's an instant pop of fall color. And can you imagine if this was like the tricolored corn and you had matching jars? Like if you had multiple jars the same size, line them up with different colors, different types of corn. And I'm going to show you how to jazz up the top of this. You could even use different sizes. I have a cute little dried beef jar. How cute would this be? Fill it up. All right. Now for the top, what I'm going to do, let's see. I think I'm going to keep it fairly simple. I thought about using some orange fabric, but I think I'm just going to go neutral. And I'm just going to cut, you could use muslin material. Muslin is just a basic, inexpensive, primitive style fabric. Okay. I mean, this would be something that they would have had in primitive times that they would have used. Okay. It's just a real basic, neutral colored material, and you can find it at any fabric store. Okay. I'm just going to cut out a circle. I'm just freehanding it. I'm not worried too much about it being a perfect circle. Okay. I can always trim it down here in just a little bit. Good morning, Miss Melissa from Cornish Creations. Yes, Miss Shayna, beans. I have actually done a jar. I've created a jar with some dried beans, and I have it in my kitchen, and I totally forgot. I should have brought that over here and showed you guys. Miss Shayna, she is a hybrid crafter, you guys. She is a master gardener. I mean, a gardener, just the best there is around. If you need help with your garden, she is the lady to go to, and she crafts and decorates using the things that she grows, you guys. She's absolutely amazing. Love you, Miss Shayna. Okay. Now, as you can see here, I've just taken that circle of fabric, and I'm just going to secure it down around the edges. Now, what am I going to secure it with? What would they have secured it with? Fabric, right? Fabric. I have. You know what? Let's get way over here. I had too much stuff on my table today. I had to make room, so I had to throw some of the stuff on the floor to use. Let's use some fabric strips, and let's use some orange. Some of this real pretty burnt orange. Here we go. I buy the fabric, I tear it into strips, and I soak it in coffee and vanilla. Okay. And sometimes I throw a little bit of cinnamon in there too, but the cinnamon can flake off as you use it. So when I'm doing dyeing and coffee staining my fabric, I just soak it in the instant coffee and vanilla and then bake it in the oven at a really low temperature just to dry it and just to give it a little bit of crisp. Okay. And that makes it look vintage and primitive. Now, if you would have seen this when I first bought it, it was a lot brighter than this. So it kind of dulls it down and gives you that primitive old farmhouse look. Okay. Now this muslin material has not been coffee grunged. And let me show you the difference. This is the same fabric. This is the same fabric without the coffee staining and baking method. And you can see the color variation between those two. Just let me lay that one right on top. You can see the color variation there. Okay. And this one looks a lot more new. You don't get that vintage and vibe from it. So if I have fabric that I want to use, and I did not bring a little sponge brush to the table today. If I have fabric that I want to use that I have not coffee grunged yet or coffee stained, I use my coffee grunge. Now my coffee grunge is a jar of mixture that has water, instant coffee, cinnamon, and vanilla. And I keep it in a jar. I store it in my refrigerator, except for when I'm crafting and creating and using it for things. But smells absolutely amazing. If you've used coffee grunge, you got to tell me what you use it on. Hey, Miss Francis. Yes, you're right. Decorating with your food. You're right. Good morning, Miss Deanie. Yes, this is actually just little corn cobs that I bought in the pet foods section at my local Walmart. I'm just going to dip it in here and I'm just going to dry it or squeeze it out. Now, in real life, I would dry it. I would probably put it in my oven at like 150 or 200 and just dry it and flip it every few minutes. Okay. Don't walk away from it for too long. Set your timer. But I would just dry it. Now, can't do that right now because we're on time limit. So I'm just going to take a dry paper towel and I'm going to squeeze it, give it a little bit of squeeze. And I'll show you. All right. Now, if it's not as dark as you want it, dip it and dry it again. Okay. So let me kind of show you what this is going to look like. You use it on everything you can, Marsha. That's awesome. All right. So that's what we have right now. Now let me show you the difference. Isn't that amazing? So you can take it and dip it in that coffee grunge mixture. And it automatically gives you like the perfect warm and cozy smell for your home. But it also gives you that vintage primitive patina to your fabrics. Now, you know, vintage fabric, if it's been around for ages, it's going to be frayed, it's going to be wrinkled and all the things. Stained, yes. So I need to just take my fingers and I'm just going to fray some of these fibers, you know, some of these threads around the edge of this piece. Now, I'm not going to have time to do it completely the way I would want to, but you get the idea, okay? Good morning. How much coffee? Mary? Okay, if you get a pen and paper, I'll tell you the recipe real quick. Or you can find it pinned at the top in the featured section on My Sweet Home Living's Facebook page, okay? It is a cup of hot water, a half a cup of instant coffee crystals. Now, don't use anything expensive. Go the cheap route, okay? 2 tablespoons of cinnamon, which you can leave that out if you want, or you can adjust that if you want. And 2 tablespoons of vanilla, like artificial imitation vanilla. Go cheap, okay? And mix that up. I like to use, you know, jars and mix that up. And you can store it in your fridge when you're not using it. But it's amazing. It's amazing. I've used it on wood, fabric, jars, use it in sometimes to thin down paints. I'm telling you, it's like the best stuff ever. All right. So I'm going to place it on top of my jar and I'm going to use, did I say I was going to use this little orange tie? This little fabric strip. I think that's what we'll use. Just tie it off. Give it a little primitive look. Now, if you want to, you could put a label on it, a tag on it. You dress it up any way you want. okay? Or you can keep it as simple as this. Now let me tie this in a knot. If you have trouble getting your fabric to stay down, you might want to put like a little thin. You're welcome, Miss Mary. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. If you are new to me and you would like to receive notifications when I go live, and you are watching on Facebook today, because sometimes I do send these videos over to my YouTube channel. But if you're watching on Facebook, in the comments, you can type in this word, exclamation mark, and the word notify. No spaces, all together. And that will sometimes help Facebook send you the notifications when I go live. All right. I would love to see you. I typically go live at least once a week, sometimes more, but definitely at least once a week. And I would love for you to join us. I always love giving you guys ideas. There we go. There we go. And it'll tell you if you already get notifications. And if you're not getting them, when it says you're getting them, you may need to engage with my page a little bit more, meaning pushing like a thumbs up or a heart or leaving a comment every once in a while. And that sometimes lets Facebook know, hey, she does still like to follow this page. And sometimes it'll bump it up and give you more notifications. But how sweet is that? How sweet is that? Now, if you wanted to, you could add a little rusty metal star on the front of your jar, a real cute little primitive style label on the front of that. But what I typically like to do, even this that it's grunged, I like to grunge it up a little bit more. And let me show you another trick. Let's see. Let me get this handy real quick. What I can do, and I would take a little sponge brush, a little sponge dabber, dip it in here, and just keep applying some more of that around the edges. Now, be careful, though. If you don't have like a hard lid on the top, that you don't want that moisture getting down into that corn. Okay, you don't want that. Then you're going to have some moldy corn later. We don't want that. But what I'm going to do real quick, this is another method that I use when I'm distressing things and giving it that grunged look. I use these little inks. Let me show you. You can get them in a mini size or you can get them in big size. My camera is a little backwards. Hold on. Let's flip this around so you can see this. There we go. These are called distress inks, okay? And they come in lots of different colors. These are the little mini sizes, but they're called, Ranger is the brand, Tim Holtz is the designer. They're called distress inks. Okay, now there's two different kinds, distress inks and distress oxides. I prefer the ink, okay? And this is the color that I like to use the most, and the color is called Vintage Photo. There's another one that is very similar, and this is called Walnut Stain. But you can see one is just slightly darker than the other, okay? This one is a little bit darker than this one, and there's a place for both. But if you want to start out small, get you one of those, and you can use it for lots of grunging up things as well. But I just get my little dabber, okay, and then I rub my little dabber, load it up on that little ink pad. Thank you, Miss Lori. Yes, you can put lids on them as well. Sometimes I like to rust the lids, and I don't have one close handy to me to show you that method. But sometimes I do like a faux rusting technique on the lids as well. You can do that as well. All right, so I'm going to take it and I'm going to rub it. Now it's going to look dark at first. Don't freak out. All right. You know, because a vintage jar is going to be handled mostly around the top of the rim. So we want to grunge it up even more. Give it that good grunged up cupboard feel. Okay. Now you can see how I'm transforming that like right before your eyes in like just a matter of seconds. And it does kind of help when your fabric is a little bit damp, honestly, because this ink is kind of water activated. If it's a little bit of damp, if it has a little bit of moisture, it's really going to grab it and really kind of give you that look that you're looking for. Isn't that cool how just real quick and easy we just grunge that up? And you can go as light or as dark as you want. Have some areas darker than others. And don't forget about your little tied section there as well. You want to kind of grunge that up too. So let me... And this is water soluble. So if you get this on something, just wipe over it with water, and that will help dilute the color a little bit. If you get it on too dark, and you can just go to town with it. Really grunge it up as much as you like. Okay. I like my things pretty grungy. So applying that grunge in layers is the key. So we've got the stained fabric, the coffee stained fabric, and then, which smells amazing, by the way, because we used the coffee grunge mix. And then we also have that distressed ink right on top of that. Now I used the color walnut stain on that, and that gave me that darker color. Now the vintage photo is dark, but it's not quite that dark. Okay. Now how cute would this be paired with, let me show you. We have the Black and Beeswax corn cobs that we did last week. I do have the replays of all of these projects in my video library on Facebook, and they're also available on my YouTube channel as well, where you can go back and see how we did these. We took these same corn cobs that I showed you. Ooh, where'd that bag go? These same corn cobs. I just grabbed a bag of corn cobs from the pet section, the pet food section at my Walmart. Those are for squirrel feeders. And we dipped them in a blackened beeswax with some spices, and they smell divine. So you can put them in a little dough bowl with the little putka pods and use some little scented oils like some cinnamon or nutmeg or pumpkin spice. I scented my little putka pods with some pumpkin spice candle oil. Okay. Just toss it in there, stir them around. And I also did that in the wax that I dipped the corn cobs in as well. But you can see how all of these things tie together. And that's what I love doing, is I love creating decor that I can use all together. They coordinate. And you guys, all of this is from a bag of corn, a bag of corn cobs. Now, do you see how all that kind of coordinates together? I love all the colors, those earth tones, and that just screams primitive. Now, I do believe on this, I think I need a couple more of these little danglies, perhaps. I don't want it to be overboard, but, mix and match your colors. I like to go with these neutral tones, browns and, earthy colors of creams and whites, and then just add in a little splash of orange as you go throughout the, fall. Now, what I think would look really cute on this little garland, I think some little Excelsior tied in these little areas, like in between. Oh, that would look so cute, and give it just a little bit more fullness. Okay. So let's see here. Probably in between. It doesn't need much, just a pinch. Good morning, Miss Debbie. You love the garland. Awesome. So let's see. Let me grab, let's see. Where did that go? My little ball of twine is kind of out of my reach. I have some more somewhere. We'll just use these little ties. We'll just use these little fabric ties and keep them short. And we'll just use that to tie around these little garlands. Good morning, Miss Brenda. Let me tilt my camera down just a tiny bit so you can see my table a little bit better here. And then you can see me finish off this garland. I'm just going to put a little bunch of that Excelsior right there in the center, and then use this to kind of tie it. And then this will make a super cute little garland that I can use on my little cabinet behind me. Oh goodness, that's cute. Now, I don't know if I need that in every little spot, but it kind of does hide the wire, which I kind of like. I mean, and the wire's brown, so it's not like it's terribly like visible. It blends in. It blends in super well. Yes, thank you, Miss Adelphia. How are you? Thank you, Miss Deborah. I love it. I'm hoping that you all enjoy this weekend. This is an event that I truly put my heart into planning and bringing to you guys. And when I know you guys love it, it just makes it even more. It just makes it even more amazing. Thank you, Miss Shayna. You loved it. Good. I'm so glad. So I'm just going to I've got two little bunches here that I'm just going to even them out. Put them in a little even area here. Thank you for those hearts. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Lori from Lavender and Ivy. She was one of our market day sellers last night and had some beautiful items. I'm telling you, I needed to get ready for today. But yesterday I could not help it. I was just glued. I was like, oh my gosh. With each new seller we had yesterday during market day, it was just absolutely amazing. And we will have a market day each time we have a vintage and thrifted event, which we have another one coming up for Christmas. It's the first weekend in November. That's what our tentative date is. But every time we have this event, we will always have a market day on the Friday. And then Saturday and Sunday are always the DIY portion of the event. So we like to bring you lots of inspiration for how to use vintage and thrifted items or primitive or make primitive style decor in your home. And so you guys stay. We have it with every new season. We typically have one of these events. Oh, it's tickling my nose. Oh, thank you, Yvonne. I know you were catching some goodies yesterday. I was eyeing some of those things that you grabbed. And with your new farmhouse coming right along, oh, you're going to have some beautiful decor in your new home. I'm so excited you got some good things. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Buttons. Isn't that cute? Simple and cute, and I'm telling you, like, cost pennies, just pennies. And it coordinates with everything that we've put together. And I've even pulled some of the other things together that I want to show you that we could coordinate that I've made before. These little faux blackened jars. I love using things like this around in my home, you guys. If you're new to me, I would love for you to stick around, type in the word exclamation mark and then the word notify, all together, no spaces, so that you can get notifications the next time I go live. But we like to use primitive style labels, jazzing those up. How cute is that? And that would coordinate with our little combination here. Love it. I'll be taking some photos to share with you here on my page. I hope I've given you some inspiration today with this project. And if not, oh, you stick around. You're going to be inspired before this weekend is over. We have, you guys, amazing creators lined up for the rest of the day, and starting again tomorrow at 11:15 a.m. We go all the way up to 10:30 each night. Okay. I love you guys being here today. Check out the Vintage and Thrifted group where you can watch all of the amazing event, and I will see you again next time. Thanks so much for joining me. Enjoy the weekend. Bye, guys.